Recording from St. Louis, Missouri, welcome to the Slap Save Pinball Podcast with your hosts, Chris Haper and Jason Fowler.
Welcome to the Slap Save Pinball Podcast. This is episode number 10. Today's date is February 4th, 2019. I'm Jason.
I'm Chris.
I want to start off by apologizing for the way I sound. I am trying to get over this death cold that I think it's actually like bronchitis or something, but I'm working with what I got. So,
dude, you're not the only one, man. I got something. It almost feels like something caught in your throat.
Yep.
You know?
That's exactly what it is. And just continuous coughing. I sound like I have the plague. I don't know. I'm looking forward to getting rid of it whenever that happens.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
So I want to start off reiterating again our policy on monetization of the podcast. I won't be long with it, but we don't have any sponsorships as of right now. We do not take a dime from anyone that provides product for us. We do not get free product. If we ever do, you guys will be the first ones to know.
Yep, absolutely.
Chris and I have talked about that. You know, we don't want to be influenced without disclosing to everyone, you, our listeners, that we are receiving something in benefit. We are actually in talks with a couple of companies that could potentially sponsor us, and we're excited about that. But when that happens, and if it happens, you guys will be the first to know.
And I think that just goes back, again, I'll reference every time back to episode 1. We're doing a show the way we want to do it, how we want to do it, and with opinions.
Yep.
So far, you know, this 10th episode now? Holy shit, it's crazy.
I know. 10 episodes. That's awesome. I
tell you what, if I could save thousands of dollars in mods some way, you're goddamn right I'm doing it. But as of right now,
right,
everything's been on our dime, including everything that we've funded for this podcast. I know you've had your fair share of expenditures, so have I, to get the right equipment in. And, yeah, you know, nobody makes... I'm not making any money on this.
Right. And I'm glad to do it. I really am. I'm not... Yeah, I don't want it to come across that we're complaining at all. But we just want you guys to know that we are not receiving anything, and we want to be very clear that we will let you know when that happens. What's new in pinball with you, Chris? What's happening?
Well, I mean, you know, we had a good night Friday night, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
That was fun. That was a nice host you did over there.
Thanks.
You and the wifey.
Yep.
It's always good to, you know, I mean, we spend... I don't know. It seems like you and I spend so much time between this podcast and being on the phone with each other. It's like, man, should we hang out?
Yeah.
I guess we should,
you know? Yeah, it's true. Well, it's funny because, you know, we put together, you know, I don't know how many people were there, 10 to 12, something like that. And people were coming and going. And there were some people that I wanted to show up that couldn't. And that's always how it is. But it's funny when I do things like that, I always end up talking more than I do playing. And I think
I was thinking the same thing as I was kind of looking around the room. It's like, are we here to socialize or are we here to play pinball? I don't know. It's a good thing either way. I don't give a shit either way.
Right.
I mean, half the games, you know, we have duplicates of, so it's not like we can't play a certain game, because, you know, a lot of guys are just kind of like, hey, you know, what you've been doing? How's your collection? What you've been buying? You know, we've got a few props on the podcast. Hey, man, we like it. You know, everything sounding good. I'm like, yeah, you got some ideas?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Come on the show.
Yeah, we did talk a little bit about the podcast, and of course, they're our friends, so they're a little biased, but lots of good things being said, and we truly appreciate it. Just a good group of guys, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Pinball people are generally pretty good people, and everyone I've met through the hobby, and Chris included, has turned out to be just a boost to my social network. And even my wife said the same thing after everybody left. She was like, it's amazing how you've met all these guys through this hobby, and everybody is a pleasure to be around. So I said, well, you haven't been around Chris as much as I have. I'm just kidding.
Right. Oh, and you know what was funny? Dude, I got to tell a story real quick. As we pulled up to your house, and of course I got both my kids with me. And my wife looks in your driveway and she's like, wait a minute. Why are there other cars at your house? I was like, well, because he invited other people. And she's like, wait a minute.
She thought it was going to be a solo
us
gig.
hanging out.
Yeah. Nope.
I said, what gave you that impression? She's like, she didn't really have an answer for that.
She just assumed, right? Yeah.
She just assumed, yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
I think her and Cindy were like in her mind, like they were just gonna blah 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 blah
Right.
blah 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 blah, and talk about dance and because they take a dance class together and all that.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Well, it turned out good. I thought it went really well. So what else is new with you? Anything?
So maybe it's just me. It seems like there's more and more people putting on Craigslist these want ads.
Yep.
Like, want to buy your collection, or, you got a pinball machine for sale, want to buy.
Yep.
I don't know. I've just been seeing more of those ads, and I'm kind of like, honestly, I'm kind of put off.
It is.
You know?
It's frustrating because you have to wade through those to get to the stuff that actually matters. People actually selling things. And I know exactly what you're talking about. And I know some of the guys that run those ads because they post pictures and I know their collection and what they look like. And there's one guy in particular that, he's in acquisition mode and he's trying to get as many as he can. And yeah, it makes you cringe a little bit because on one hand, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to find more games, which more power to you. That's fine. But right. I also see it as sort of a way to try to kind of manipulate someone maybe that doesn't really understand what's going on or isn't in the know. And, because it's always like, I'm a collector looking for machines and, I'll give you more money than those guys that flip. And I'm like, but that's exactly what you're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's, I think where I kind of have a beef and maybe it's just me just getting older and, I'm not scouring those ads anymore. And back then you never saw like want to buy ads. It was always like guys moving games because they had to get rid of them or they needed the space or they were moving or this, that, and the other.
Do you think any of that has to do with the fact of where the hobby's at as far as the number of people that have been infused into the hobby and maybe the machines are a little bit harder to find?
I would like to believe so. Yeah, I would like to believe so.
Too. Yeah.
But I can't say for 100% that that's what's going on, So I don't know. It's kind of disheartening a little bit to me anyway.
Yeah, I definitely look at the wanted ads or the for sale ads on Penn's side on a probably semi-regular basis. I mean, at least once a day, I'll take a look and see what's available. And
or Facebook. Yeah. Facebook Marketplace, honestly, is really that new Craigslist, at least for me. I've sold a bunch of stuff as a recent. And every one of my sales has been because of Facebook. Yeah. Yeah. I think that there's a lot out there that you have to kind of wade through, but the deals have kind of evaporated. And I think that's just because of the number of people that's in the hobby. And that's the downside of the popularity of our hobby. And I'm okay with that. You just have to look a little longer and maybe be a little quicker than the next guy and maybe take some more chances than what you would have maybe 5-10 years ago. But that's the way of the world, I suppose. Yeah. So what about you? Well, on my end, so I got a relay system installed, and I don't know if anyone's familiar with that. And it's to keep it as simple as possible. There is a button that is on my wall when I walk downstairs that I can press, and it will make all of my machines come on in a wave. This gentleman also designed an app for my phone to where if I'm upstairs and my son and I decide we're going to play pinball, I can pull out my phone, I can press the button, and then everything starts up downstairs. Now, it was surprisingly inexpensive, but I had somebody from here in town do it. It's called Current Integrations, and the gentleman's name is Kenneth, and he did a great job. That's the main thing I guess we got done. And then I'm considering Guardians of the Galaxy Pro. I've been looking at those. There's one here local in St. Louis I've been talking to the gentleman for. He's after more of a trade, and I think I've got something coming in that he's interested in. So
that's going on. Looked at a couple Indy 500s. I'm interested in finding one of those that's in exceptional shape. And that's the thing. It's like you can always find games, but if you're trying to find something that's in better than normal shape, I have kind of an expectation as far as what I want to pay. So I've been kind of kicking that around. But yeah, as far as pinball goes, that's really all that's new with me. There is two things I wanted to discuss real quick. So everybody knows about our Google voicemail line, right? So we talk about this. We love to have people call in, leave an intro for us, leave comments. And this past week we had two separate calls. And the first one, yeah, the first one, the gentleman did not leave his name for whatever reason. I'm going to play that for you now. And then Chris and I are going to talk about what was said and what was asked and our thoughts.
Hey guys, first off, great podcast. Really enjoying it. Really enjoying the shorter podcast, and they're concise and fun, very entertaining. So nice job there. Just wanted to pick your brains about the idea of co-op mode. Co-op mode is something I discussed with a lot of friends. I owned TNA for a little while, and one of our favorite features was co-op mode. The fact that we could play the game together and conquer the game together. And with some of these games out there now getting more and more complex, I mean, look at Hobbit, for example. The stuff to do in that game and that journey can be so long that I'm confused, and I just don't understand why co-op mode isn't built into more games. I don't know. Just wanted to see what your thoughts are. Once again, appreciate the podcast. Love everything you guys are doing, and curious what your thoughts are. Thanks. Bye.
Chris, you want to start? What is your thoughts on co-op modes, and why do you think that they're not more prevalent than what they are?
Well, TNA was the first one to ever do it, as far as I know. It's something new. It's something, that Scott, I assume he came up with the idea, thinking more out of the box. And that's kind of the nice thing about some of these, newer guys coming to forefront in terms of game design and all that,
Fresh ideas.
To start,
right?
Yeah, fresh ideas, thinking out of the box. I honestly, for me, yeah, I'd love to have it in every game. Why not? It's just one more feature to bring to pinball. Now, is it something you're going to play every day? Probably not. Unless you have, you're having a, maybe a weekly league or something where, you have, a team of 4 and another team of 4 and you're competing. But there again, that gets into a long game. So, for a Friday night hangout, like what you and I did, last couple of weeks, yeah, I could see that. I could see that being fun. I think it should be out there. I think it definitely should be worked into games, and other features, along that kind of thinking.
Yeah, I agree.
I enjoy having extra features that came with the game. So
it just underscores exactly what you said about Scott. He brought some fresh thoughts to the table as far as TNA goes, and I think it's a great idea. Now, I'm guilty of not using it enough. I think I've done it twice on my TNA, and I don't know why. It's because I'm so unfamiliar with it and not used to it that it doesn't occur to me that it would be a fun mode to try. And we probably should more often. But I think one thing TNA's got going for it is it's got a code set and a gameplay that is conducive to a co-op mode. Whereas some games, like just to throw something out there, like a Metallica, how would you turn that into a co-op mode? Like, how is it going to be any different than like what he said, like a 3-ball game? You'd almost have separate coding. And
well, you're just going to get deeper in the game is basically the gist of it.
Yeah, that's true.
If you got, 4 guys, now you got 12 balls to possibly play to get, as deep as you can in the game.
Well, I think it would require some specialized coding. And as we all know, Stern sometimes struggles just to keep up with the standard coding of their game. Yep. So I would love it, but at the same time, I don't want to delay or maybe have that take priority over the actual code that is traditional, So yeah, it's a great question. I think it's something that should be done and probably could be done relatively easily. So I'm hoping they do it. So I think again, it depends on the game. Yeah, you don't want
Lord of the Rings going 4 players, 3 balls deep. I mean, that could be,
5-hour game. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the big hang up, I think, on it. But, on those, man, if there was a way that they can make a mod for maybe some of the older, kick your ass games to get further into the game, that might be interesting.
Right.
I don't know.
At any rate, thanks for the question. Thanks for the call.
Yeah,
we appreciate it. You didn't leave a name, but whoever you are, thank you. So,
mystery man.
Yeah, exactly. So on the second phone call, you couldn't have 2 more calls that are more different from each other. So Sammy Pinball called one other time. This gentleman is from Texas, I know, just because I see his phone number when he calls the Google Voice line. Sammy Pinball, I believe, is he's trolling us a little bit, and that's fine.
No, that's all right.
Yeah, we're good with that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to play his message here, and Chris and I will talk about it when we're done.
Oh my God, Jason, Chris, thank you so much. This is Sammy Pinballs. I heard myself on your previous podcast. Thank you so much. That meant the world for me. I was very excited to hear myself. Thank you. All my friends would cheer down the street. They go, Sammy Pinballs, Sammy Pinballs, and it was always so exciting. Thank you very much. I just wanted to call and ask your opinion and get your thoughts and questions on this. My next thing I was going to say. What would you think about someone remaking older machines like Taxi or something? Like the taxis, the diners. I love Taxi. That's my favorite machine. Oh God, I love sitting in the taxis. I love that game. I was wondering if you think would it be too expensive to do, or do you think they would sell it for cheaper? Discuss between yourselves now, okay? Thank you very much. This is Sammy. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
So, Sammy, he's full of enthusiasm, and I wanted to play that up. What do you think, Chris? Sammy specifically, in case you had trouble understanding him there, he was wondering why CGC wouldn't remake Taxi or Diner.
Because Stern's doing it with their vintage series.
Well, right, according to our Back to the Future podcast where we travel in time.
Quicksilver is on the way out.
Right.
So,
well,
it's...
My take on it is I think he's onto something. So if we make a Taxi, redo it, and we put maybe the Kardashians in there, like instead of having Marilyn, you have a Kardashian, and then maybe instead of Gorbachev, you have like, I don't know.
Trump?
Yeah, Trump or Putin or whatever, and go with that. And
Santa Claus is the Grinch?
Yeah, just a little spin on it. And then, you make like a platinum edition and you charge $20,000 for it. I don't know why anybody wouldn't buy it.
I know.
Yeah.
As long as you're only making 100 of them. I mean,
Right. So
probably 50 at that price.
Yeah, that's true.
I think they'd sell out.
Well, Sammy, when you got an $1,800 pinball that goes the original one and you're wanting to do a remake, you're going to have to do something pretty damn special to be able to sell that for a remake. But like I said, I appreciate your enthusiasm and thanks for the laughs.
Well, here's one thing. Let's bring up a point.
Yep.
Let's bring up TNA. Okay.
Yep.
We know what that TNA cost, right?
Right.
And it's, there's still a lot of mechs within that pinball machine and under that playfield that's still going to cost money, period.
Sure.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it's not going to be, there is no way you can design, a $3,500 new in the box machine unless it's going to look like, Stern's, home version of Spider-Man.
Right.
It's it's just not there. You got, these companies are not here to lose money. So, I think if people are willing to buck up and pay the price on a newer version, I think right now they're doing what Chicago Gaming's doing, with these A titles of the 90s era. Yeah, they've got that niche and they can make that happen.
It'll be interesting to see what Deeproot does, because while we haven't heard any specifics, they're pretty adamant that they're going to come in at a price point lower than what Stern is doing and offering the same amount, if not more. So
I just hope it doesn't look like a toy. That's my concern.
Yeah. And I think they're smart enough to realize that if they appeal to a first-time home buyer that maybe just, they have a dartboard and they want a really cheap pinball machine to put in, that's a completely different demographic than what we are as hardcore players. And I don't think they would leave one for the sake of the other. But I've been wrong before. But Sammy, it was funny. Thanks for the call. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Sammy. Good to hear from you again.
Sammy Pinballs.
And now, Slap Save Pinball's 60-second news.
Stern released 0.91 code for Munsters that includes Secret Mania and Midnight Madness modes. Munster Pros are being delivered en masse, including location machines, and Greg from Straight Down the Middle received his first new in-box game. Way to go, Greg. Deadpool Topper released, featuring the Merc with the mouth and a thumb that rotates up and down. You can see that on Penside right now. In a Replay magazine interview, Jack from Jersey Jack Pinball confirmed once again they will be releasing 2 machines in 2019. Christopher Franchi posted some heartbreaking photos of a pipe burst incident on his Facebook page. Damage seemed to include many collectibles and toys that he's fond of, and a Beatles pinball machine. What did you see out of this stuff, Chris?
Well, at least Stern's, I guess, got a somewhat of an update from Munsters. I didn't look too deep into it. Hopefully within a month, maybe they'll be at 1.0. I mean, you're pretty close.
Yeah.
But, there again, it's not Lyman who does, a 0.01 and does this huge update at a time. So
yeah. They've definitely been moving the codes out quicker, though, so I wouldn't be surprised if within a few months that's pretty close to 1.
Yeah, I'm hoping so.
Yeah,
I'm hoping so.
There's been some talk about Munsters maybe, and I don't know if this is the general population or if it's more just the people that tend to try to nitpick everything and find something wrong with it. But there is some, I guess, rumors flying around that the game is not deep enough for some folks. You are in line to buy an LE. What are your thoughts?
I got no problem with the depth.
Yeah.
I haven't played it. So, for me, it's new pinball. Beatles isn't that deep.
No, it's not.
As you go, you go through the game. Yeah, you get your bonus multipliers and all that. And, there's a lot to do, within the game. And, not every game needs to be just, deep. It doesn't need to be Wizard of Oz. It doesn't need to be dialed in.
Right.
Some games need some simplicity. So I'm okay with that. I want to have that kind of mix. I've got a big enough collection that it doesn't bother me.
Right.
So I guess really that's the a nail in the head for me.
You don't think that would affect maybe the length of time you would stay with a game if you felt like it was something that you could conquer too easily?
Everybody has. I think when I let stuff go, it's more of a mood swing. Like I'm just done with it.
I appreciate the honesty.
Dude, I'm just, get to the point where you're just done with the game.
Right, I get it.
I get it. Now, granted, there's maybe 1 or 2 in the past that I've let go that I do want to see again. But I've got no problem with it.
Yeah.
I think it's a new game. Obviously, they killed it on what they're doing with the game and how they got it set up. So I can't wait.
Yeah,
I'm really stoked.
It's funny how there's comparisons being drawn to Monster Bash and the fact that Monster Bash has always been kind of touted as maybe an easier game. Now, when I say easy, it's all relative. Like tournament players that can completely destroy these things and get to the wizard modes, like the end game wizard mode on a regular basis or semi-regular basis. I think these things affect them more than they do the standard, run-of-the-mill player. I think it's probably a good thing to focus more on that latter crowd, but because despite tournament players and maybe the 1%ers, if you want to call it that, being very loud and boisterous and maybe not caring for games that they feel are too easy. I think the bulk of the market is made up of people that want to feel like they can progress through a machine and see most of it. I mean, there's games out there that, most normal mortals won't see the end of. And I don't know that that's something that you should focus too much on as a manufacturer.
So Jersey Jack, so I listened to that interview. That was interesting how he was pretty forefront on 2 machines coming out this year. So
let me ask you this. In your opinion, do you think that when he says they are releasing 2 machines, is he doing a Stern release or is he doing a Jersey Jack release? Do you know the difference that I'm talking about?
I think it's going to be a sped up Jersey Jack release.
I hope so.
Is the way I'm just going to take it.
Yep.
I don't think it's going to be show the game and then, 9 months, a year later, it's going in production. I think it might be still, maybe a month or 2 off. Possibly 3, but no more than that. I hope Jack keeps talking like he's learned his lesson about it. So let's see if he has. But, the fact that he mentioned Lawler and Eric as designers, I don't know. That's interesting to me.
If Jack could ever set up mobility or versatility in the factory that would allow him to make very small bunches of machines based on a demand in any given one day, I think that is the key to him being able to, it just feels like he's a little too, what's the word? There's a lack of mobility as far as reacting to the market. Like, think about he got so geared up about Pirates, and look how long it's taken to get that to where those machines are actually coming out. And the ones that did, we're hearing some issues with early adopters and stuff like that.
Yeah, which is too bad.
Yeah, it really is, because I know, deep down, I'm really rooting for Jack. I think he's super enthusiastic. He's really good for the hobby because he offers something that nobody else is offering. It's a super premium product that when you own one, you kind of see there's a difference there. And I know despite the problems that they have and the early issues that they have to get ironed out on these machines, Jack is good for pinball. He really is. And it gives Stern probably their best chance at some legitimate competition.
Yeah, I think they tend to hold off a little bit more, like Waz demand. They wait to get till, they're in the hundreds, it sounds like. Before then, they buy the parts to make it, because they've realized their cost issues.
Yeah.
So now they've got to, it's got to work out on both ends.
Right.
What they're selling for and what they can make them for with their staff that they have to keep employed and paid to make the games. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I can see it being a give and take. That's, and that's kind of why Spooky's model makes more sense. As much as I root for some of these companies to really take a big ding, maybe out of Stern's, being the big boy, nobody can do it, honestly.
Nobody has yet. And, making a dent, yeah, okay, maybe a little bit. That Spooky model works. It really does. It does.
And you limit your amount of games. We're making so many of this, and then we're on to the next title.
Yeah.
And then if over a year or 2 or 3 years' time they build up enough demand, all right, we'll kick out another 100 machines. And then poor Chris Franchi on his Beatles, man, that sucks.
That does, yeah.
That sucks. But it sounds like Stern's going to help him out. So good props to Stern for hopefully maybe doing a little rehab on that game.
When I first saw that photo, I thought that was like an office that he had within Stern. And I was looking at it, and if you look at the offices you've seen in photos for like Gomez and Steve Ritchie and all those, they're like really nice offices. And I saw that, it looked like a broom closet. And I was like, man, Chris, like the things that rough over there. But apparently that's something that he had leased at a separate building, I think up by his house, so he could get away and actually work on things. But there's nobody in pinball that I'm a bigger fan of as far as personality and talent and all of like everything wrapped together. And if anybody deserves to get that whole situation cleaned up and fixed, it's Chris, and I'm rooting for him. I don't know if he goes by Chris or Christopher. It seems like he always writes Christopher. He might be one of those guys that like insists that he's called Christopher. I've known a couple guys like that. But
well, I signed Christopher, but I only get called Christopher when I'm in trouble.
The Full Plunge.
So for a full plunge, we are going to talk about speculation and investment chasing in pinball. And is pinball a sound investment?
You got to look at your collection and be like, okay, am I collecting these? And do I actually play them a lot? Or do I turn them on just to look at them?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's all different types of collectors out there, Jason. Mm-hmm. I am a collector that likes nice machines, but I play the shit out of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not afraid to sling them around and slap on the sides and have fun with them, because that's why I bought them.
Right.
So for me, you always need to look at pinball. Is it a purchase with fun money or a second job or maybe even bonus money or a tax return? Is it something you can tolerate possibility of losing $500, $1,000, of, this collecting deal? If you can't handle that kind of loss initially within, I think buying a game, you probably should stick to dropping quarters on location. Just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Now for me, I mean, it's like the stock market, these last 5-6 months, they were great all the way through July, August, killing it. But I mean, you got to have the stomach for, the uptrends and downtrends of your investment. So is it really investment? I don't look at it as an investment. I look at it as an asset. Okay. I know I have so much locked up in these games. Now, granted, I've been in this hobby a lot longer than you have. So I have, knock on wood, I've never lost a dime being in this hobby. Now, granted, I was also in it when Tales of Arabian Nights were like $3,000, $3,500. So I've done well with the games I bought and the games I've held and the games I've sold. So for me, yeah, I've been lucky. Now, granted, my collection now is really a high-end collection. So if I were to sell everything that I have right now, would I still be up? Yeah, I'll still be up. I won't be up as much.
Let me ask you this.
But
so
over my whole career of being in the games and collecting and buying and selling,
you have 3 games that come to mind to me that I'm going to test you a little bit on. So you have a Ghostbusters LE, you have a Game of Thrones LE, and you have a recently purchased Beatles Gold. So do you feel like those were good investments?
So Ghostbusters, I think, is still kind of, up in the air. I enjoy the game, so it doesn't bother me.
I'm not asking if it bothers you. I'm just asking if it's a good investment.
Well, again,
because I know you, right? You are an LE buyer, and that's fine.
I am.
That's fine.
Absolutely.
Well, whatever. But the fact remains that LE buyers, especially if you're buying them new, you've never played that game.
Right.
Never once. You were buying it based on the theme and potential. And sometimes that works out. And there's other times, like the 3 games I just mentioned, that I would be not shocked isn't even
Game
the
of
word.
Thrones, Jason, I didn't buy new in box.
Okay, well then that one we can
I
strike
bought it
from the record.
with mods at $7,000.
Right. Okay. Well, we can strike that from the record, but with Ghostbusters LE and with Beatles Gold, what I'm asking, just in the very simplest of terms, is you feel like those are good investments. But I also, if you really dig down deep and are honest with yourself, I don't think you're buying these as investments. You're buying them because you enjoy them.
You're buying them, but they're assets.
Yes, which is a huge difference. That's
a huge difference.
It's a huge
they're not
difference
investments,
that
they're
people
assets.
a lot of times confuse the two.
I think so.
Oh, all the time.
And I have in the past. I'll be the first to admit it.
You want some entertaining reading.
But here's the thing.
Yeah,
I've got the stomach that, I'm a daily trader. I have an E-Trade account. I trade quite a bit of monies here and there. And some days are a great day where you're up 7K, and some days are not a great day. And I've been down 12, 15K.
Yeah.
In a day. But you have to have the stomach for it. So pinball, for me, 500 here or, 300 there. When I sell a game, am I going to try to get the most out of my game? You're goddamn right. Every fucking time. And I'll be a stickler because I'm dealing with somebody else as an individual, and I'm going to get the most out of my money. Mm-hmm. And if I can't get that price, I don't need to sell it to you, period. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with that because I like where my collection is. Mm-hmm. So that's a difference.
So don't confuse the stomach for it with, is it a good investment? Like, I'll give you an example. You told me you don't buy new cars, right?
That's right.
You don't buy new cars. Why do you not buy new cars?
I can't remember last new car. It's probably been almost 20 years ago.
Why do you not buy new cars?
Because I'd rather put more of that money. I don't like a payment. That's the first thing. I do not like a car payment. Right. Some do.
So, what my point is that your stomach for it, nobody walks into a dealership and expects it to be an investment. Your stomach has nothing to do with whether you feel like that's a good investment or not. Are you looking at them or not? Like, I don't understand how that falls into whether it's a good investment or not.
Well, here's the thing. This is, my basement is my fun money. But are they assets? You're damn right they are. Okay. So I'm not that buyer of a new car at $60,000 and making that $800-900 a month payment. That's not me.
But if you wouldn't be making the newest, latest thing. $900 a month
I
payment.
just need I need a vehicle that gets me from here to there. So out of my 3 vehicles, I own 2 outright. My other vehicle that we just got my wife is a $200 a month payment.
Right.
That's not even a payment. That's going out to dinner twice.
Yeah.
For me. So I put money into my home, where whether it's a pinball machine, whether it's updating furniture, whether, that's a small project, that's where I'll spend my money. Otherwise, it's in my investment account where I'm doing day trading. Mm-hmm. So, I don't.
Okay. So here's my take. I think you're winding down. So here's my take on this, right? So investments are, at its very simplest of terms, is something that you buy that you feel is going to bring you a pretty reliable, pretty steady profit. Okay.
Correct.
Right. That's just the simplest definition, right? There is a tendency to run out and buy things that, whatever you're motivated by, whether it's something that you feel like nobody else is going to have, or you have some limited edition of something to where it's a shorter run. The bottom line is, if you look at the numbers for games for what they're selling for now versus what they were selling for 3 years ago, pinball is not a good investment. There's a great speculation, or there's a great thread right now on Pinside that you can search for asking this very question. There is, and I'm probably playing a conservative, 1 out of every 10 people in that thread consider pinball an investment. I know you and I know your style. And like, you went out and you bought a Iron Maiden LE. Never played it. Never once, right?
Yep.
You bought it, you played it a while, you sold it. Now, to imply that you made money on that, like,
I broke even.
Are you being honest with yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's all I'm going to ask.
I did a trade deal.
Because I can't.
Do I need to tell you the dollar amounts?
Only you know that. And only you sleep with yourself at night. So
that's right.
But I'm just saying, like, I could name umpteen versions of LE models and Sterns that if you're buying new, if you get somebody that you actually made money on, or even broke even in most terms or most times, then you either found the ultimate sucker or there's maybe just a little bit of fibbing going on. And maybe I haven't met that guy yet, but like that, I bought a Ghostbusters Premium. I paid an absurd amount less than what that sucker went for new. And it's going to happen with the LE too. And I'm saying, like, there's no way to tell, especially without playing a game, if you can tell which one of those are going to be hits and which ones aren't, because sometimes it'll surprise you. You know, well, that's the way it is.
That's why you shouldn't look at this hobby as investing.
But Chris, that's what we're asking. Is pinball a good investment? I don't look at it as an investment.
My whole point is that, no, it's not a good investment, but do they turn into assets? Yes. But you have money that you'll get out of them.
Well, sure. Assets. I mean, my son's crayon collection is an asset. That doesn't make it a good investment. You know, that's a drastically different thing that sometimes gets confused. I just, that's all I'm saying.
But it depends. So, Jason, it boils down to a person's income and what money are they using to buy these machines? Is it their fun money account? Is it their bonus money account?
Do you think there's people that are on food stamps that have 6 figures worth of pinball machines in their basement? I do think there are people that in this hobby buy pinball machines that can't afford them. Well, that may be.
Well,
but that's
there are.
Okay.
That's my point.
But that may be, but that's not the point.
My collection, though, is not.
I'm not. Again, Chris, you're confusing this. I'm not asking you if you can afford your pinball machines. I'm not.
You're damn right I can.
But I'm not asking that. I'm asking if it's a good investment.
What did you just ask?
I'm asking if pinball is a good investment. And I feel like you.
And I said from the get-go, no, it's not a good investment. Now, have I done okay with it? Yeah, over my 10-year stint in the hobby, I have done well with it. Have I made money? Yeah. Have I taken out money? Yeah. Did it pay for my bar in my basement? You're goddamn right it did.
Right. That timing, you're very fortunate with that timing. That's not going to happen again. If you sell the current machines you have, let's reset for a minute. In today's market, if you think something that you buy right now, if you're going to go out and buy a $7,000 Fathom, or you're going to go out and buy a $9,000 Stern LE, and you think 2 years from now that it's going to be worth $12,000, you are high.
Oh, absolutely.
You are high. And that's what I mean by this not being an investment. It is fun. It is a hobby. It should be spent with fun money. It should be spent with disposable income. It's not my argument to say who is doing that and who's not. I don't give a fuck. I honestly don't. But what I'm saying is check yourself. Not you. I'm saying people out there. Check yourself on what you're spending thinking that it's going to come back. Because it doesn't work that way now. Not in this market. Not when you've got guys that are dropping $10K on a game that 2 years ago was $5. Hell no. Now, yeah, you've got an infusion of all these people into the hobby that are paying these kind of prices, but that's going to end. It's going to end. There is a tolerance level of this stuff. Like you said, it is an asset. It's an asset, not an investment. There is a huge difference between the two. That's all I'm saying. You know, I've heard the stories, and I sell it to my wife that way too. I'm like, I can always get my money back. And generally speaking, still, you can, as long as you buy right. Now, there's times where we see something and we want to spend a little more for it. Doing this, have fun. Spend money. I don't care. I don't care what you leave your kids. I don't care what anybody leaves their kids. I'm just saying, don't let the price desensitization get so far out of control that we start to check out with common sense. That's all I'm saying. Pinball is not a good investment. And I'm not the only one that feels that way. Like I said, it was 9-1 on that thread. And it's the way it is, unfortunately. So we're running out of time this week, so we're going to wrap things up because we know it's important to keep this kind of short for you guys. That's what we've agreed to. So we want to encourage your feedback, suggestions, and comments. Leave a review, if you would, on one of the major podcasting websites of the Slap Save Pinball Podcast. How to reach us is always the best way. Email at slapsavepinballpodcast@gmail.com. Our voicemail comment line that you heard a couple folks called into, that is 314-529-1875. You can find us on Facebook, Pinside, Instagram, Twitter. Chris has his Twitch feed that he sometimes, I know he's been busy lately, but it's an entertaining watch to watch him play. Chris is really good at pinball, and you might learn something while you're doing it. So that is slap_save_ on Twitch. Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned for the next episode. We are going to put these out maybe a day or two later during the week because things are really crowded on Monday, so we'd like to give you something to look forward to at the end of that point. Chris, anything you want to add?
Yeah, buddy.
See ya.